Welcome back to Real Conversations with Kelly. This episode, it is going to wake you up. It is going to make you think, what do I need to do to get permission to do exactly what I want? Dang. All right, let's get going.
So we are talking about permission, giving ourselves permission, why it's taken us so long to get that permission, what's holding us back from doing what we say we want to do. And I've been reflecting a lot on this recently because you and I both have had a few losses in our lives with family members, a recent pet, beloved pet. And it really started me thinking about why we wait. We hear all the time that life is too short. Why are we truly waiting to go after the things that we really say that we want to do in our lives? And most of the time, it comes down to, why aren't we giving ourselves permission to do it? Who are we listening to? And why aren't we moving forward? So let's talk about that. You have mentioned quite often now that we are doing this podcast and it's something that you've wanted to do for such a long time. Tell me your process of what got you to the place of decision and why we're here now.
Wow. Okay. Probably is I worked a job and worked for myself for 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started working at a company back in corporate. And when I was working on my own, I could have started this business. I could have made it grow over the years, and I just didn't. I had the opportunity. I feel like when I didn't have the opportunity and I knew that I had to jump through hoops to make it happen, that's when I said, it's time. It is time to share what I know, to start talking about reality, what we're doing, and just get real. Totally get real with myself and with people that are out there that are going, I'm going through this, but what do I do?
Right. Do you think, though,
So,
that you would have been able to do this 20 years ago, 25 years ago? I mean, really, if we think about it, we're in different places in our lives and we have different pursuit of things. Do you think that you could have really been in the place of being able to give so much experience and so much life-changing advice if you hadn't gone through it yet?
no, absolutely not. So, I am at the perfect moment at the perfect time to be on my podcast and sharing what I know, what I see my friends go through, what I see other people go through, and really like look at it from a whole different perspective. If I had done that 20 years ago, my perspective would have been probably totally different because I will say, and I'm just going to be pretty honest, this is real conversations. I am a nice person until I'm not. And I was a bitch back then sometimes. And it just I I can be truthful on this. And I have learned so much in the past 20 years. Just looking back 20 years. I mean, I was 40, 41, living in Lake Tahoe, enjoying my
Mm-hmm.
life. I was working for a third party meeting planning company. It was wonderful. But yet I was lost. And I don't think that you have to be found. I think you just have to step into it.
Tell me a little bit
And
more about, you just said that you were lost. Like, what is that? How were you
oh, I
lost?
was completely lost.
In what way?
Completely.
How did that
Um,
show up in your life?
gosh, there was so much that happened. I had just lost my cat. There was a incident with my cat up in Tahoe, and she passed away, Shakti. That was very devastating for me. And then I had to move out of the condo because I wasn't making enough money to stay there. And then my dad sold the condo, and there were just so many different things. I was in a self-improvement seminar, and I took that for 8 years and taught it along the way. I feel like that kind of sparked and awakened me a little bit
Mm.
and sent me on a path that I had started back in the 80s. Yeah, that's how old I am, girls. Yeah.
Right there with you.
In the 80s, I had started, and I went to a self-improvement seminar, and it woke me up, and I started meditating and really trying to find who I was, and I was getting massages, and I was doing all of this. And then I crashed and burned in the 90s. I was in radio, I was having a great time, I was in promotions. I loved it. And then I got fired because I was making too much money. And are you
What?
girls ready for this? He said I was making too much money at $20,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So that was in the 90s. And I crashed, and I went into depression. And I'll be honest with you, I opened the Bible, and it's Romans. Oh, I'm going to have to remember it. It's Romans 8:16 through 32, something like that. That is where I got my permission.
Mm.
That's where I got my permission. Okay, I am realizing this in my real talk. That's where I got my permission to step out of my comfort zone. I got into rental companies, and then I started waiting tables again, and then I got into the hospitality industry, and it was like everybody said, "Oh, once you go to the hospitality, you will never go back. You will always be in hospitality." And here I am.
Here you are. Here you
And
are.
so, I am in real conversation, and I started way back then. And now it's like I looked at myself in the mirror, and you had a big part of it because she was always like, "Okay, when are we going to start this? When are we going to start this? When are we going to start this?" Okay, we're starting it. I promise. And the fear, literally fear, was taking me over. And then I thought, I've got to give myself permission. And I looked at myself in the mirror and said, "You are going to do this. We are going to just take this, and we're going to run with it. And we are going to change lives, and we're going to take people with us. It's not just going to be us. It's like we have so much to do here." And so I've given myself permission at 60, 61 to just go for it. And I got a long way to go, and I am not stopping.
You mentioned earlier that you gave yourself permission. Why do you think it took so long? Or maybe that's not even the right question.
Oh, it
Do you
is.
feel
It is.
do you feel like a lot of times we're spending too much time looking for permission from other people? Do you feel like that's what keeps us back from doing
No,
from stepping in? No?
no. I think it's the things that we can't forgive ourselves for from the past.
Ah, dang. Okay, expand.
That's exactly what
Wow.
it is. Because there were times when I was a
Mm.
teenager, and my girlfriends are going to be laughing right now, whoever's listening, and they're going to say, "Wow." But I held on to a lot
Mm.
from my teenage years, and I held on to a lot from my 20s. And when we hold on to it so tightly that we think, oh my gosh, if anybody finds out about this, they're just going to think I am ugly, sick, and
Mm.
wrong. Well, guess what? I'm ugly, sick, and wrong. Okay. But I had to ask forgiveness from myself, from the world, and from everybody else that I have hurt along the way or made feel less than. Oh, but we all go through it. And it's like I had to give myself permission to love me right at this moment. And once I did, oh my gosh, it's like everything melted away. If I listed everything out that I was holding on to, everybody would laugh. They would go, "You held on to
Mm. That's a great point. When you said that, that really hit me hard. There's so many things that we do and we hold ourselves accountable for or shame over or guilt over. And really, as you just said that sometimes your girlfriends would be like, why are you even holding on to that? But yet we do. Dang, that is like really a great self-reflection moment. So really, in essence, it's ourselves that are holding ourselves back. So how did you find that forgiveness and how did it turn over into self-love?
it." A lot of brain jumping.
Ah.
I got my journal out and
Mm.
I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. There's a book that I used to follow and it's called The Artist Way. And it said, get up first thing in the morning and just write whatever's in your head. Just write, 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 write until you're done. And that's what I did for years, for years. And then I stopped and I've started again. And when I started, it was amazing the revelations that would come out in my brain dump
Mm.
because I would go back and read it and go, I didn't, what the heck? It was so incredible. I mean, I had written something and it was very short and sweet, but I read it like 3 times and I thought, wow, I've been living with this for so long. And that's how I really started loving myself. I know I did the ERC back in my second, I think it was my second episode, but engage, release, connect. And I did it on other people. And I thought, why can't I do it on myself?
Ah.
And I
Yeah.
did it on myself. And wow, like, how do I want to engage with myself? What is the self talk that I want to say to myself in order to make sure that I am communicating what I need to
Yeah. Why do we find it so difficult to do that for ourselves? We can do it easily for somebody else. We can easily forgive somebody else. Why can't we do it for ourselves?
communicate? Oh, no. I just had this thought. There was one of my friends. She came over, helped me clean my house. It was great. I went over to her house. I was like, well, you haven't even cleaned your house. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I can't clean my house. She goes, it was easier to clean your house. I thought, wow, what an example to give somebody that you have got to take care of your soul in order for other people to see you as an example so that they'll take care of their soul.
That's really interesting because we're all told to have such a service heart. And in essence, we're all here to experience a life and to be able to help other people. And we want to be able to be of service to others. But maybe that has a lot to do with it, is we just feel that we spend so much time in the service of others that we don't spend a lot of time within our own selves. Maybe, is it possible that maybe we feel a little selfish trying to make ourselves better?
Totally.
Mm.
Totally. And that is the barrier that I broke.
Mm. The barrier. That's a
Yes.
great way of putting it.
Yes.
Because it's not like we're being selfish in that respect. When you're talking about it being a barrier, it's not like we're trying to be selfish in any way, shape, or form.
No,
It propels us
absolutely not.
further.
Absolutely not. It is, it's the moment when you realize if you take care of yourself,
Mhm.
then you're the example and you're giving the other person permission to do what they want to do. So it's just like we said, okay, who's going to give me permission to go online, start a podcast, figure it out and be successful? Well, I'll be damned. I am going to be successful because there's a lot of women out there that want to hear this and that want to be a part of something, that they want to find themselves and they want to be who they are.
Be able to find out who they are in their
Absolutely.
second half of life. I think that's a gift.
Absolutely.
I really do believe that a gift of being in our upwards over 50s is we do get the chance to be able to better believe in ourselves because we're not focusing so much on the pursuit of all the daily things that we did in the past. When we were a child, when we were teens, when we were college age, when we were newly married, we had kids, all these different pursuits were happening. Well, now we don't have those same constraints. And so now we get to do those different pursuits and find out what emerges. You know, you and I have talked about this quite often is it too late for me? Like, did I miss the mark?
Oh.
Did I miss the mark? And now I'm stuck with I should have, but I didn't.
Okay, so you just said mark, and I'm like, well, let's go to the check mark because it's
Yes.
like, let's
Yeah.
check this off
Yeah.
because I'm ready. I'm ready to check mark my life off. I will say where I was last year. Last year I had an awakening, I guess. It was a health issue. And I'm never, ever the one that's getting a procedure. I am the caretaker. And I'm never the one that takes medicine, prescription. Absolutely not. Now I take 5 in the morning. And I feel like they're keeping me alive. And the moment that I was faced with this, I decided that it was time to change the way I looked at things. I used to say, oh my gosh, I maybe have 25 years to live. When I came out of that health issue, that's what I was saying. And I was like, wow. And it made me just very quiet. Yeah, I know. Not quiet. I am not quiet. And it literally put me into a different space, headspace, if you will. And then I thought, why am I going there? Why am I saying I only have 25 more years? I should be saying, hell yeah, I got 25 years to live. Are you kidding me? I'm going to do everything that I can to change as many lives as I can and to awaken so many women out there so that you are not waiting to get permission to do what you want. And I am giving you permission to do exactly what you want without asking. You can do anything that you want. Just do it. Take one small step.
That brings me to a great idea. Most of us, we don't know what those steps are, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Exactly what you just said.
Did
You
we?
just start. Nope.
We
We're
had
still
no
playing it.
clue.
Yep.
No clue.
Yep.
And I looked at Heather and I said, well, do you know how to do it? Do you know? Do you know like what microphone you need to get? And as you can see, I'm holding my microphone and I should have it in a stand, which I don't. But it's like I want to get my message across. And if I've got to hold my microphone the whole time and talk to you, that's what I'm going to do. We are learning as we go.
Because here's the key. The key to starting something is to start.
Is to start.
Is to start.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you say, I don't have to start. I don't have this. I don't have that. It's interesting because I put out there the other day, I don't have the money to do a retreat. I don't have the money to go and buy extra equipment. I don't, and I kept going. I don't. And then I was like, I have the answer to starting my retreat. I know exactly what I want to do. And so I just started writing it down. And all of a sudden, somebody came into my life and said, well, of course, this is what you need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, oh, that's all I have to do. And so I have started the process of actually believing my dream. And I'm speechless. Because we dream constantly, every day. And if I can just change one person's life, then my job is done. But if I can change 1,000, if I can change just a little bit of someone.
So in other words, you're telling us, stay tuned because the retreats are coming.
Yes, they are. They are. I am working on them right now. You know, you kind of got to lay it out. Nobody realizes how hard this is. This is freaking hard. But you know what? It's hard because it's going to be so good.
That's right.
It's going to be so good. And I cannot wait to share. Cannot wait. Because it's going to change my life. At the same time, it's going to change your life.
Well, that's definitely always been our goal.
From anybody to do it.
That's right. You don't need permission from anybody to do it. There's so many times that we sit back and we listen to the naysayers. Those are the ones that we don't need to be sharing our dreams with, or the people that we know are going to say no anyways, or going to tell us that we can't do that, or that 80% of all businesses fail in their first year. We don't need to be sharing dreams with the people who don't dream back with us. And I think that's where you are going with being able to write things down, is play the what if game. What if it did work out? What if you did find the money to hold the retreats? That's where it starts, is the belief of what ifs. And then, as you say, giving yourself permission to go after that what if, one step at a time.
Yep.
So, tell me the things that have changed in your life, though. Excuse me, my voice. Tell me the things that are changed in your life, not necessarily just because we've started the podcast, but I want to know your standing with how you treat yourself. I want to know how it's affected your relationships. I want to know how it's affected your friendships. I want to know the day-to-day ways that once you give yourself permission to change your life, how it literally changed your life, like your day-to-day living.
Calmer, way calmer.
I love that.
And I started working on myself. I jumped out of the box and started going to a place in Dallas. They do network spinal, and it works with energy in your spine. And wow, is all I have to say. It is 15 minutes a week. And if I want to do 30 minutes a week, I can do that. But I've been doing it for a year and a half. It has changed my world. Yoga. I'm not running anymore. I'm sad
Yeah.
because, man, I love to run. But slowing down and being very deliberate in what I
Mm,
do
mm,
has put a whole new perspective on where I'm at.
mm.
And I don't watch a lot of TV. I listen to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I'm always learning. That is one thing that has changed about me. I'm always learning.
Okay.
I'm learning through podcasts. I don't read a lot, and I know there's a lot of readers out there, and I respect you more than anything in the world. I do not read. Now, I probably could pick up a book and go, "Oh, I can read this in a day. No big deal." Um, just can't. I just can't read. Can't read.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I spend a
So
lot of time listening to podcasts too. I find it so entertaining, of course, but I really love conversation. I love to hear other people's voices. And I do love reading as well. I just don't do it as much as I used to. And you've got this great encyclopedia now known as YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and all these other avenues where other people's knowledge can be really stepped up and inserted right into the brain through the ears. And if you are a auditory learner, which you probably are more so than visual, I'm both. I like to see both, but I'm very auditory. And so it does. I'm like you, it serves me well. And I learn so much from other people, which is why we're doing this as well. We want
right.
so many people to come and hear the things we have to say and find value in it. We want you to engage with us, ask questions, tell us your experiences. We want to form this community so that our retreats will be full when they are announced and you can be a part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they are definitely going to be something that is totally different than you have ever imagined. Because I've been dreaming about this for 30 years. Sometimes what we dreamed about 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
we've outgrown.
That's true. That is true.
And boy, I have not outgrown this.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Because I kept saying to myself, I can see myself owning a retreat center. Somebody can come in and they can spend the weekend, they can spend the day and experience themselves
Yeah.
in a whole different way. So just remember, I'm giving you permission. That's it for this episode. Thanks so much for joining us. And remember, we are on YouTube and now we are on iTunes podcast. We figured it out. So I'll see you in the next episode. And until then, great day.